This is the second of your CLE lessons, and it is dedicated to the legislative power of the Italian Parliament. The Italian Parliament is composed of two chambers, the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate of the Republic. The Chamber of Deputies sits in Montecitorio, the Senate of the Republic is located in Palazzo Madama. It is called, our system, surprisingly, is called perfect bicameralism. This means that both chambers do exactly the same things. It has been widely discussed not only in political science, but also in philosophy, why you should choose one chamber or why you should prefer two chambers. Actually, in favor of a bicameralist system was Charles Louis de Montesquieu. One of the main thinkers of the time. And a lot of systems actually choose this the bicameral system. This is the case of the Italian system, and it is not discussed so much, the bicameral system. One of the problems is we have almost record number of members of MEPs, member of parliaments. We have more than 900 members, 945 members, plus the members which are members for life, also former presidents of the Republic, and special members which are chosen by each president of the Republic among Italians which have made famous the name of Italy abroad, like famous artists or winners of Nobel Prizes or famous politicians also. So we have more than almost 950 actual members of the two chambers, which is really maybe too much. So we had a new changing in the constitution. We have a new law was being voted, a new constitutional vote. New constitutional law has been voted, and we have reduced the number of members of parliament to 600. 400 members for the Chamber of Deputies, 200 members for the Senate of the Republic. Actually, we're not sure if this change will actually come into force, because we have a referendum which will be held in quite soon, and in the referendum the Italian people will be called to decide if we want a bigger parliament or a smaller version of it as provided by the new law. So they have to decide, we'll have to decide if a new law will have to come into effect or not. And of course, if they vote yes, the new law will come into effect. If they vote no, we will remain with old rules. Also, it must be remembered, so it is quite a special kind of a referendum. It is a confirmatory referendum. You have to confirm that you want, as a people, the new law to come into effect. So it's the opposite of a normal referendum, which is an abrogative one, in which if you vote yes, you want the old law, and if you vote no, you want the new law. In this case, if you vote yes, you want the new law. If you vote no, you want the old law to remain. So into force. So you have to remember this when you are going to vote, because all of you are going to vote this time. So perfect bicameralism means both chambers do the same things. Actually, in order for a law to be approved, it must be approved by both chambers. In order for a motion, which is a political decision which obliges the government to do what the parliament says, also a motion must be approved by both chambers. If one of the chambers is against a law or a motion, neither the law nor the motion can be approved. This is very important because one parliament, one chamber controls the others, and it is important to avoid not really good laws are approved or not really good motions are approved. The electoral system is a mixed system. We have a mixture between a first past the post system, a system called the winner takes it all, so where majority wins and takes all the seats, and a proportional method, where, as it was in the Constituent Assembly we've seen last time, where seats are allocated according to the proportion of votes which are taken by each party in the elections. And we have a mixed system, 77% with a proportional mixed system, and 37% with a first past the post system. The system is widely discussed because it doesn't give very clear results, and so it should be changed, or it might be changed in the next future. Because last time we risked having what is called a hung parliament, which means that no, it wasn't possible to form a hung parliament, you see. It means it wasn't possible to form any kind of government after the elections. The two chambers are quite the same. There are some slight differences in the rules of elections. The active electorate and the passive electorate are different. So you have to be 18 to elect the Chamber of Deputies. You have to be 25 to elect the Senate of the Republic. You have to be 25 to be elected in the Chamber of Deputies. You have to be 40 to be elected in the Senate of the Republic. Also, the Senate of the Republic is elected on a regional basis, as the Constitution says. This is to ensure that the two chambers are not exactly photocopies one of the others, and there is a slight difference. Maybe the actual rules of election changed a bit too much, because the legislator, the constituent votes, the ones who voted the Constitution, wanted to have two different chambers, but not so much different. With the systems of elections we adopted last times, we had two chambers with different majorities. And that was not really the intention. So it became really, really difficult to govern the country. And this wasn't really the intention of the constituent legislators. The legislature lasts 5 years. The election is every 5 years. You see, this is the distribution of the parties, of a member of a parliament between the parties immediately after the elections. Now it's changed drastically, both in the Senate and in the Chamber of Deputies. This is because there's no obligation in our members of parliament to remain in the same party with which they have been elected. They are free to change, and they exercise their freedom quite often, actually. And this is another point which is really discussed about our parliament. The main thing to say about the parliament is the relationship it has with the government. There's a confidence relationship, which means voto di fiducia. You've heard the expression a lot of times. The confidence relationships can be discussed, put into discussion by the parliament, who can approve a motion of censure which obliges the government to resign, or by the government, which can say to the parliament, you have to approve this law. If you don't, you practically take away from me the confidence. You vote no to the law, but at the same time you vote against the government, and you oblige the government to resign. Also, this is a kind of like the government telling the parliament, be careful, because if you don't make this law pass, you risk to remain without government. And if you remain without government and you're not able to form a new government, what happens actually is I go home, but you come home immediately after me, and maybe next time you will not elected. So it's like the government obliging the parliament to approve the law. This is what usually happens. When a vote of confidence is put on the law usually passes. The law can be proposed by a lot of different bodies. It can be proposed by the parliament. Each member of a parliament has the right to propose laws. It can be proposed by the government. It can be proposed by regional councils, by the National Council for Economics and Labor, and by 50,000 electors. This is the bill or draft law can be proposed to the Chamber of Deputies or to the Senate of the Republic. It doesn't really matter, and it is assigned to the competent commission. The houses, both houses of parliament, are divided into commissions. The commission examines the bills and gives and all the amendments proposed to it, and then expresses an advice about the single articles and the amendments. Amendments are proposals to change the text of a bill. And are voted, they have to be voted, all of them are to be voted. We had once one party proposed 1 million amendments to a law, and but what happened is really the parliament didn't vote all the amendments, because otherwise it was calculated it would have taken 23 years to approve, to vote or approve or reject all the amendments. So there are quite strict rules saying which kind of amendments are permitted, allowed, and which other are not allowed. So okay. Anyway, both houses of parliament have to approve the same law, and this, if that doesn't happen, this is called navetta. The law goes back and forth, and so on until the same text is approved. After the text is approved, the President of the Republic must promulgate the law, but the President of the Republic has a veto power. He can send back the law, he or she. We never had a woman as a President of the Republic, but we hope that will happen in the future. And if the law isn't, the power of veto is not exercised by the President of the Republic, the law passes on, is published on the Official Gazette of the Republic, and after a period of 15 days of vacatio legis, it comes into force. Otherwise, just for once, the President of the Republic can send back the law saying it is unconstitutional, it is against the Constitution, and indicating which articles of the law are unconstitutional and which are the articles of the Constitution which are violated, infringed by the law. If this happens, the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies have to examine again the law and say if they wanted to approve it with the changes suggested by the President of the Republic. They wanted to approve it in the same text. If they don't want to accept what the President of the Republic is telling them, or if they don't want to approve it anymore. These are the possibilities. Of course, if the law comes back to the President of the Republic with the same text, the President cannot do anything. He has to approve the law. He has to pass it on, to promulgate it, and to make it come into force. Only after the vacatio legis, the 15 years period, the law is obligatory everywhere. Thank you very much for your attention. This is it for the second lesson.